Hey fellow fingerboarders, it's Chris Daniels aka CD Play at Zero, and welcome to my fingerboard YouTube channel. 99% or more of fingerboard related tutorials focus on teaching tricks themselves and follow that same generic template. You know the one. Step 1, you need to know these tricks before you move on to this trick. Step 2, position your fingers exactly like so, etc. Well, today we're going to shake it up. I'm going to share some insights that can apply to every single trick that you learn. Here are 5 advanced techniques that will improve your fingerboarding immensely. The first trick is perspective. Change the way you look at fingerboarding tricks. Think about your approach to a kickflip 5-0, for example. Let's say you're struggling locking into that 5-0 part. You just can't seem to get the kickflip in right. Well, I ask you this, where are your eyes looking? Most likely they are looking at the board. I know my eyes do. Shift it up and try looking at that obstacle instead. To learn this technique, I would recommend first trying this with simple grinds, such as a simple 50-50 or a 5-0, and getting used to looking at the obstacle of where you're going to land, and then you can employ it for combos. It's a great technique to employ when you're struggling with the combo trick. What I find is that I will switch this technique and sometimes will land it first try or second try. If I continue to struggle, I'll switch back to looking at the board and I'll land it pretty soon after. Sometimes all we need is a shift in perspective to land that hard trick. Tip number 2, break it down. What do I mean? Break that fingerboard trick down to its fundamentals. A lot of times we kind of absent-mindedly just flick our fingers in a certain direction. When we're looking at complex tricks, we can break it down. For example, a big flip can also be looked at as a varial kickflip 180. Another example is when I'm riding in the upside down inverse stance. I had an epiphany that to do a switch ollie in that stance is really just a regular ollie in the way that you pop it, but it's flipped upside down. By breaking the trick down, I was able to identify that this trick is certainly possible, and I just had to rethink my approach. By taking something complicated and stripping it down to its building blocks, you can identify the movements that are essential to making the trick happen. Let's talk about number 3 in the mix. Loading. I talked about this technique in my heel flip tutorial where we use Taylor Rosenbauer as an example. Loading is a subtle movement that we use to gather momentum prior to performing a trick. If you look at this trick in slow motion, you can see me subtly moving that board towards my body, which increases the tension between my front finger and the board itself. I'm able to use this tension to leverage an even faster rotation, making the board flip faster and even getting a more horizontally leveled flip trick. Heel flips are an obvious example, however this applies to so many tricks. You can apply loading, for example, to a switch front finger impossible. By popping the board in the pocket, I load the tension. Once we release the tension, we do it through the wrap, and this makes it a faster, more horizontal, and realistic spin. Number 4, pressure. This one might seem obvious, but I don't see anybody talking about using pressure to an advantage. By applying the pressure in a specific way, you can leverage this to perform tricks in ways that are different. There are tricks where being very light on your fingers works really well. For other tricks, you may want to apply a heavy amount of pressure because this can be essential to making the trick perform its rotation. An obvious example of where pressure is essential is a simple pressure flip. However, I use a ton of pressure when I perform my ollie late back foot flips, and even on kick flips, I might press down subtly before to get the board to stick a little tiny bit more to my fingers. Number 5, hesitation. I highlighted this technique in my kickflip tutorial. When performing tricks, most of us, if not all, blend the flick motion into a pop motion. One of the best tips I learned from skateboarding was to separate a trick into its parts. Focus on that ollie first, hesitate, then flick. This hesitation makes for a much more stylish and faster trick. Bonus. Alright, I know I said 5, but we're going to give you guys an extra bonus here. Use your body. Despite what the name implies, fingerboarding requires more than just using your fingers. Most tricks actually utilize your fingers, your hands, your wrists, and your arm to move a certain way to achieve a trick. Be loose. Use your body when you perform fingerboarding tricks. Additionally, if you're performing a line, even how you walk and move can affect how your fingerboarding looks. If you want to get smoother lines, be sure to practice moving. Alright guys, if you found these techniques insightful, please let me know in the comments section. I love to hear from you, and I'll do my best to respond to anyone that responds below. If there's any other techniques that you didn't see covered here that you'd like to share with everybody, please let me know. Put them in the comments below too, and I'm sure everybody will appreciate that. If you found this video great, be sure to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Much love to you all, and go fingerboard and have fun.